Hi everyone, welcome back to Bosco Campus Vision. In today's session, we'll be discussing the summary of Act 3, Scene 1. The king willing to attend the dramatic performance. We know that Hamlet is intending to find out whether King Claudius is guilty of the murder or not through the dramatic performance by the actors. And in this scene, the king shows his willingness to attend the dramatic performance. This scene opens in a room in the castle. Enter King Claudius, Queen Gertrude, Polonius, Ophelia, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. Rosencrantz and Guildenstern tell the king and the queen that they have not been able to find out the real cause of the distracted manner of Hamlet, but that he felt pleased on being told that a company of actors have arrived to entertain him. We know that in the previous scene, King Claudius and Gertrude have summoned Rosencrantz and Guildenstern to find out what is really going on in the mind of Hamlet. So in this scene, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are reporting to King Claudius that they were not successful in finding out Hamlet's affliction. But they tell him that Hamlet seemed happy at the arrival of a company of actors to entertain him. The king promises to attend the performance of the actors. Rosencrantz and Guildenstern leave. The king tells Gertrude of Polonius's plan by which he will come to know whether it is disappointment in love that is afflicting Hamlet. Claudius is telling Gertrude about their plan, about Polonius's and Claudius's plan to sneak upon Ophelia and Hamlet while they were talking. They have already decided to hide behind an arras and to listen to their conversation in the previous scene. So here King Claudius is telling Gertrude of Polonius's plan. The queen leaves after telling Ophelia that she would be happy if it is for love of her that Hamlet is feeling distracted, because in that case, it should not be difficult for Ophelia to restore him to his normal condition by showing that she responds to his love. So Gertrude has no objection in Hamlet being in love with Ophelia. In fact, she hopes that it is because of Ophelia's rejection of Hamlet's love that he is now in a melancholic state. So if that is what is really tormenting him, Ophelia should be able to restore him to his normal condition in no time. Polonius then gives a book to Ophelia and asks her to pretend to be reading it. So Polonius is directing Ophelia to pretend to be reading a book while Hamlet crosses her path. The king's crime revealed to us through his soliloquy. The king, in an aside, confesses that his black deed is proving too oppressive for his conscience. So in an aside, King Claudius admits that he cannot stop thinking about a black deed that he has committed. And the black deed is obviously the murder committed by him. So with this aside, it becomes clear to the audience or the readers that it was really King Claudius who has murdered King Hamlet. Claudius and Polonius then hide themselves and Hamlet enters. So Claudius and Polonius hide behind the arras, behind the huge wall hanging, while Ophelia is standing there pretending to be reading a book and Hamlet enters the scene. An important soliloquy by Hamlet. Hamlet makes a soliloquy which is perhaps the most famous passage in this play. Hamlet asks himself whether it is nobler silently to suffer the blows and buffets of misfortune or to fight against misfortune in order to overcome it. So Hamlet is asking himself whether it is noble to silently suffer the ills of life, or to fight against these adverse conditions in life and to overcome it. So he is asking himself which one is better, whether he should suffer everything and stand there idly without doing anything to overcome it, or to fight against the misfortune, or to fight against the adverse conditions of life in order to overcome it. Suppose that a man dies in the course of his struggle against misfortune. Death, which is a kind of sleep, will bring about the end of all those sorrows and sufferings to which man is subject. So he is proposing that when a man dies fighting for his life, death, which is a kind of sleep, which is eternal, will bring about the end of all the sorrows that he was suffering. So he is thinking that there will be an end to all his sorrows and sufferings through death. And then he continues, but where is the guarantee that a man will not see horrible dreams in the course of this sleep of death? It is this fear of what happens to a man after death that prevents a man from seeking death. So no one knows what lies ahead of him after death. And there is a chance that one might see horrible dreams during the process of death. So we do not know what lies ahead of us after death, and it is this fear of what happens to us that prevents us from seeking death, that prevents us from committing suicide. If there were no fear of what happens after death, a man would gladly commit suicide and thus escape from the afflictions of life, such as injustice, disappointment in love, loss, delays, the haughtiness and arrogance of those who occupy high positions. A man does not normally commit suicide but prefers to suffer the ills of life because greater ills may be waiting for him after death. Therefore, the thought of death often prevents us from carrying out great and dangerous enterprises. So, Hamlet here is analyzing the pros and cons of death. At one hand, he says that if one dies, it will be the end of all the sorrows and the sufferings that he is enduring. But at the same time, he is saying that there is a chance that greater ills may be waiting him at the other side of death. So it is better not to die. So while thinking about all these, Hamlet is actually restraining himself from committing suicide because he doesn't know what lies ahead of him after death. Hamlet's insulting treatment of Ophelia. On seeing Ophelia, Hamlet stops in his meditations and turns to her. We know that Ophelia is waiting for Hamlet, pretending to be reading a book, while Polonius and Claudius is spying on them. And while seeing Ophelia, Hamlet stops in his meditations and turns to her. Ophelia speaks to him of the love that he used to have for her, but he says that she should not have believed his professions of love. So Hamlet is denying of having any relationship with Ophelia. He then asks her not to think of marriage with anybody, but to retire to a nunnery. See, nunnery was a colloquial term for brothel at that time. So Hamlet is here being offensive to Ophelia and is asking her to get herself to a nunnery. She should not think of marriage, but instead she should turn her attention to a nunnery, to a brothel. He speaks of himself in a disparaging manner, describing himself as proud, revengeful, and ambitious. So Hamlet belittles himself, his stature, and says that he is a proud, revengeful, and ambitious man. He asks her the whereabouts of her father, and she tells a lie by saying that he is at home. Hamlet's mocking comment on her father makes her think that he has really lost his mind. Her impression that he has gone mad is confirmed when he makes some more remarks denouncing marriage. Hamlet then leaves, and Ophelia, in a soliloquy, deplores the fact that Hamlet should have lost his reason. So, with this conversation, Ophelia thinks that Hamlet has really lost his mind because, if not so, he would not have talked to her in an offensive manner. The king's decision to send Hamlet to England. Claudius and Polonius re-enter. They have overheard conversation between Hamlet and Ophelia. So, as planned before, they have hid behind the arras, the wall hanging, and they had overheard what Ophelia and Hamlet were talking. Claudius is of the opinion that love has little to do with Hamlet's malady. Claudius thinks that Hamlet's love for Ophelia is not the root cause of his disorder, it is something else. He thinks that there is something which is weighing upon his mind. In his present state of mind, Hamlet can prove dangerous to the king, who therefore decides to pack him off to England on the pretext that a change of scene might cure him. So Claudius understands that Hamlet can be a threat to him if he comes to know about the murder. So in order to avoid that situation, King Claudius is planning to send Hamlet off to England. For that, he finds an excuse that a change of scene might cure him. Polonius suggests that the queen should have a talk with her son in an effort to find out the cause of his distraction, while he, that is Polonius, will hide himself and overhear the talk. So Polonius is again proposing a plan that he will again do a spy work, and at this time he will arrange a conversation between Gertrude and Hamlet, and Polonius will eavesdrop the conversation, and the king agrees to this. And that brings us to the end of this session. As assignment, note down the major events in Act 3, Scene 1. Thank you and have a nice day.